Most people believe empires collapse in one sudden moment, a loud explosion, a final war, a single disaster. But history tells a different story. Empires don't fall in a day. They follow a pattern. Slow, silent, seven-stage collapse that repeats again and again. The Soviet Union. And now, many historians say, America has quietly entered stage 5 of the same pattern. But the real question is, how did all these massive powers, nations that ruled the world, lose everything? Even when they thought they were unstoppable? And why do the warning signs look so familiar today? To understand this mystery, we must start at the beginning, the origins. Every empire starts as a small, hungry power. Rome was once a tiny city surrounded by enemies. Britain was an island with little influence. And America was a young nation with almost no global reach. But here is the twist. Every empire begins by solving a problem. Rome solved constant invasion by building disciplined armies. Britain solved resource shortages by exploring and trading. The USSR solved political collapse by creating a centralized state. America solved economic weakness with new ideas, new industries, and fierce competition. But the seed of collapse is always planted in the first stage, because to grow, empires must expand. And expansion always demands more soldiers, more money, more control, and eventually more than they can handle. Then comes the rise. Their roads, laws, and armies were unmatched. Britain became the global shipping master, controlling more than 25% of the Earth's land. And America rose faster than all of them, winning World War II. During this stage, something strange happens. Empires stop believing they can fall. They think their growth is natural, permanent, and deserved. But if you look deeper, the cracks are already forming, because the next stage is the breaking point, the moment when strength becomes a weakness. For Rome, the cost of running a massive empire became too high. Armies were expensive, borders were huge, and corruption spread inside the government. For Britain, 2 world wars drained their economy and forced them to give up colonies. For the Soviet Union, the cost of controlling people, managing shortages, and maintaining military power pushed them into crisis. And for America, the breaking point began quietly. The difference is that America still looks strong on the outside, just like every empire did at stage 5. But history shows, breaking points rarely appear dramatic at first. They start with silent warnings most people ignore until the fall becomes impossible to stop. Then comes the fallout. In Rome, invasions increased, taxes rose, and citizens lost trust in their leaders. In Britain, the empire shrank rapidly as independence movements grew. Fallout is when the old system begins eating itself from the inside. Inflation rises. This part of the story always feels the same. Confusion, anger, and the belief that somehow things will fix themselves. But they never do. Not yet. They try to save the system with quick solutions. Rome raised taxes, printed cheaper coins, and hired foreign mercenaries. Britain tried new alliances and new loans, but couldn't rebuild global power. The USSR forced more government control, but it only made shortages worse. In America, it has entered its own era of failed fixes, printing money to solve problems, lowering interest rates to avoid recession, increasing debt to keep growth alive, endless political fights that never address the real issues. Instead of healing the system, failed fixes act like painkillers. They hide the symptoms while the disease spreads. Then comes the final stage, collapse. Not always dramatic. Britain didn't collapse violently, but slowly became a smaller power. The Soviet Union collapsed in a single moment, but the instability was building for decades. When the world no longer believes in the empire's currency, military, promises, or leadership. Collapse is not the fall of buildings, it's the fall of belief. And once belief disappears, the empire disappears with it. Now the real question, is America truly at stage 5, at the failed fixes stage, and heading toward collapse? To answer that, we need to connect the past and present. The connections are shocking. Every empire had the same 3 warning signs at stage 5. First, extreme debt. Rome debased its currency. Britain borrowed massively after World War II. The USSR spent too much on military expansion. Today, America has the largest national debt in human history, more than its entire economic output. Second, political division. And America is now more divided than at any time since the Civil War. Rome guarded borders too far away. Britain tried to control the world with limited resources. The Soviet Union tried to compete in every area, from space to nuclear weapons. And America has military bases in over 70 countries and has spent trillions on foreign conflicts. But are these enough to say collapse is coming? Not yet. Empires don't collapse from one problem. They collapse when problems combine. And right now, America faces a combination that looks almost identical to past collapses. Rising interest costs that now take up a huge part of the budget. A currency that is slowly losing trust internationally. Big social divides, weak institutions. But the most worrying sign is one that appears in every Stage 5 empire. People stop believing in the future. They feel the system is unfair. They lose trust in leaders. They fight each other instead of solving problems. This same emotional shift happened before Rome's fall, Britain's fall, and the USSR's fall. But here's the twist that most people don't expect. Collapse is not always the end. Sometimes it is a reset. After Rome fell, new kingdoms rose. After the Soviet Union collapsed, new independent countries formed. The real danger is not collapse itself. It is refusing to recognize the pattern before it is too late. So what happens next? History suggests three possible outcomes. First, America could reform early, reduce debt, fix institutions, rebuild trust, and avoid collapse. But this has never happened for any empire at Stage 5. Second, America could experience a soft collapse, losing global dominance, but surviving as a major nation. This is what happened to Britain. Which one is coming? That depends on decisions made in the next 10 to 20 years. And the warning signs say the window for change is closing fast. But here's the part most people forget. New empires rise as old empires fall. When Rome fell, Europe changed. When Britain shrank, America took the lead. When the USSR collapsed, US dominance increased. So the big question is, who rises next? China. India, a new alliance. The pattern is repeating, but the world is different. Crises spread quicker. And global power shifts happen in years, not centuries. In the end, the 7-stage collapse is not a story of doom. And today, we are living inside one of those turning points. But those who understand the pattern can prepare, adapt, and even benefit from the shift. The first takeaway: every empire believes it is different until it falls for the same reasons as all the others. The second takeaway: collapse always begins quietly, with small signals that seem unimportant. The third takeaway: the biggest danger is not the fall, but refusing to change before the fall begins. And here is the warning. History is not slowing down. Decisions made today will shape the world for the next 100 years. And the real question is not whether the empire collapses, but who is ready for what comes after it. If you want to understand these patterns, these silent systems, and these hidden signals long before they hit the news, you're in the right place. Subscribe to Economy Rewind, where we decode the past to explain the future.